we can always build on that. We can always recover on that. I mean, Victor, Wednesday mandamanos have been put on hold, according to the Azimio team. As Kenya Private Sector Alliance, as I saw you holding your phone there, is there a sigh of relief now? We're getting, what's the update?
I think we are happy with that. Basically, that is what we've been looking for, because you can build a home over years, but you can damage it in one day. And rebuilding is very costly. You damage it in one day, you take another 5-10 years to rebuild what you've damaged in one day. So, and that's why from our estimates you could see, people are wondering, those are daily losses. Yes, they are daily losses. You can bring a whole house in one day, in less than a day, and the cost is so high. If we're looking at people, in the insurance, they're saying now they cannot cover that. All right?
Yes.
They can't cover those political risks. If you look at tourism, from 2021, there was a resurgence of tourists coming back. You scare them, they cancel their tickets. They are not going, even with this calling off of the Mandamano, they've already made their destination, they've already made alternatives to other destinations. So that is already lost. We cannot recover it. So recovery, even with the calling off of the Mandamano, recovery is going to take time.
Okay.
Yeah, recovery is going to take time. Across the East Africa, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, Sudan, South Sudan, all depend on the port of Mombasa for 80% of their imports.
Okay.
Imagine there is a non-tariff barrier if they can't move their goods because the roads are blocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the economy is also affected.
Yeah, and it shows how critical Kenya is to all this, the region rather, Yes. We are the gateway to East Africa. And I was looking even at the currencies. We've always talked about the dollar and the Kenya shilling entered into a G2G fuel deal to sort of reduce demand on the dollar. But locally, even looking at our counterparts in the East Africa region, the Uganda shilling is strengthening against us, the Tanzania shilling, the Rwandese franc is also strengthening against us. It seems this is a risk that we are always putting on ourselves. And Dr. Omondi, this brings me to you. In terms of the issues that are being raised, cost of living, for example, are there any solutions that have been proposed by the opposing team to inspire the government, at least tell them, high cost of living is here, but this is how you can bring it down, or is it just pointing fingers?
Thank you for that question. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not aware of any proposal that has been tabled by the Azimio team on how the government can reduce the cost of living. But there are measures that have already been put in place by the government to reduce the cost of living. There's the subsidy on fertilizer. The government is also trying to reduce the demand for dollar by having the government-to-government agreement in order to bring in fuel on credit for some time before the government can pay for that. That is supposed to ease the demand for dollar in Kenya and at least reduce the cost of import, because Kenya, we are net importers, so we import a lot. So if the exchange rate of Kenya shillings against the dollar at least favors Kenyans, the cost of importation will reduce, and that will also, by extension, reduce the cost of imports and the cost of whatever import, and in turn reduce the cost of living. So at least there are some measures that have been put in place,
okay.
But other measures that also need to be put in place. We need to focus so much on agriculture, because the cost of basic foodstuff has been going up, and we need to ensure that we have food security in this country first. So that is where we should start from.
Okay.
So once we are food secure, then we also focus on the other areas.
Okay,
Yes.
that's very critical. Food security is key. Mushai, in fact, a better part of last year, one of the challenges that we had was drought, which was a risk, a heavy risk, since our agriculture is very rain dependent. Then we had another risk